Welcome, everybody. Welcome to The Heat with Keats. I am your host, Nikita Russell, and I have a special guest here today for our second podcast, our second episode, Fallingbrook. How are you?
Hi.
Thanks for coming. You came from Saga, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did come from Saga.
Yeah,
It
thanks for
was
coming all the way.
not that bad of a
I'm
drive.
excited to have you on. I've been interested in your content, and we actually met at a show, right?
Yeah, it was like the Clintons.
Yeah, the
like,
Clintons bar.
I think it was like Fiji's.
Yeah, Fiji's event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
What's the
I
he
think
has
it
the
was he does like the
number
Rome
5.
sessions.
Yeah, the Rome session.
Yeah, shout out to Fiji and Rome God,
Yeah.
Rome Nation. Yeah, that was cool. That was a couple months ago, and I was performing, and you were there with another artist, right?
Yeah, I think I showed up for I think it was like a couple people. I think it was like EM Lord.
Yes, I know. Yeah, EM Lord and Vile
Oh
Merck.
yeah, Val was there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Val's performance is amazing too.
Mhm.
Shout out to him too. And he's in the East End too. So, we'll come back to the East End. So I'm glad to have you here. So tell us about your brand specifically. What is Fallingbrook music about?
It's like a resource hub, I think, for artists, whether
Mhm.
they want production, they want video, they want what else is there for like resources and like even like I guess maybe like stylists and stuff like that,
Mhm.
right? But like the whole point of it is that it's all done with purpose,
Yeah.
and we make sure that like we try to understand what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
We also try to understand who you're saying it to. Like we're trying to figure
Right.
out what you're trying to say, right? And you also want to make sure that we understand who you're saying it to, so that it kind of, because I think that's the recipe in order to create something that's the highest value, that's sustainable, right?
Right.
Like,
That's interesting.
so yeah, like we, even with production, right? We base it around, we don't, it's not like a series of type beats.
Mhm.
The first thing we ask is like, all right, what are you trying to do? And what are you trying to accomplish?
Right.
What's the mission? What's the emotion? And what's the story? And then we craft it around that. Same thing with
Yeah.
videography, right? What's the mission, story, and purpose with all this, right? Graphic design,
Yeah.
same thing. You know what I mean?
I love that. I like the term you use there, a resource hub.
Mhm.
I think as an artist, like you have to have a whole team, you have a whole machine behind you, because there's the appearance, the performance, the music, the production behind the music, the producer behind the music. So resource hub, I think, is essential to like an artist's development, and I think artists can really appreciate that and really benefit from what you're doing. So that's really good what you're doing for the community of artists.
Well, yeah, and the cool thing too is that like so first thing I do is I try to make sure I understand the artist
Mhm.
fundamentally, right? What are their values? What are their mission? What's their vision? And then we take these sub projects,
Yeah.
right? And I try to make sure that everything's in line with the actual like brand, right? Like I feel like with artists, the issue with them is that they're very, very creative.
Mhm.
And that's solid, because like you create these ideas, but the only issue is that sometimes they're too creative for their own good, and
Yeah.
they don't know how to kind of stay on track.
Right.
And once you just get these baby ideas, you know what I mean, that never
Yeah.
get to see the light of day, right? Or they never get finished. So what I do is like I'm like, all right, hey, we're let's
Yes,
let's
you keep
bring
them
it here
You
on
keep
track
them
in that
aligned.
sense, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like and the cool thing too is that like I make sure that everybody is kind of cohesive. So the video people are also with like in communication with the
Right.
music people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everybody's all on the same project.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
a cohesive understanding, communication between
Yeah.
everyone, so that the mission. I like that you use the word mission, because sometimes artists are in it like just for the money and for the glam and stuff like that. They don't necessarily have a mission, or they start with a mission and then they get signed to a big label, and then that mission gets lost in the sauce, because now it just becomes a money making machine. And money is great, fame is great, like that's amazing, but I just think that like artists true mission and true artistry, it shouldn't get lost. So I like what you're doing with that. So what I wanted to ask you was, what do you think is the biggest mistake that artists are making right now when they're trying to produce their music in 2023? What is the biggest mistake or a common mistake that you see?
I think in general, I think they just believe that their stuff is more valuable than it really is.
Like it's
And-
more poppin' than it actually
Well,
is.
sort of, but even value, right?
Yeah.
Like in the sense of like, well, cool, you have this song, right? But what is it? Like, why should I listen to it, right? It's like well, it's like what problem is your artistry solving, right? And most people don't even
Yeah.
know that. It's like, oh, it's entertaining. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's
Yeah.
entertaining. You know what I
Facts.
mean? Like,
That's actual facts.
um, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, let's get deeper, right? Like, so the way I define value, it's not. I don't think I define it. I think the way value is defined economically
Yeah. Right.
is you have to have a need for something,
Mm-hmm.
and then and that like like a pain point, right? And then so that's one aspect of value, and that comes from like the Maslow hierarchy of human needs. Cool.
Okay.
So for starters, right, instead of like making your song about like an entertainment factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is it actually talking about? Maybe it's talking about like loneliness. Maybe it's well, guess what? That's like the third step of the hierarchy. That's way more valuable than self-actualization to us, right?
Wow.
Belonging in that sense, right? Well, you know what I mean? So now your
Yeah.
song is not about entertainment. It's a song that's, it's almost like a vocal piece
Right.
for, belonging, you know? That's more valuable, right?
Wow.
Now,
I've never heard it been explained like that.
but
That's interesting.
now let's go like the second part. So the second part of value is, well, how useful is this solution?
Mm-hmm.
Out of every single time I use it, is it how often is it going to solve it for like that
Yeah.
problem for me, right? Now, the thing about music, it's like even if it was like a tool that does kind of soothe your belonging problems, but that's not every single time I'm gonna listen to it's gonna make me
Yeah.
feel better, right? So what could I do? Maybe I can make content. Maybe I could have an event,
Right.
right? That actually solves that problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And making sure that like, again, like everything that you're creating is intended to solve a problem for people,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Now the third aspect is also like competition.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are doing what I'm doing, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like it's funny, but this is actually like what most branding like agencies do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they position you in that sense, right?
Yeah.
But I think the higher level artists, they do have access to that. You know what I mean? But I think the
Definitely.
lower artists don't, and it's really hard to sell like an artist without a product, because
Yeah.
branding is always based on solution. Like every business has always been based about solutions, right? What's the solution with artistry, right? It's like, well, that's hard. Now the cool thing also about having a solution, right, is that like, cool. So let's just say my song is kind of focused on like, I guess like, again, belonging or something like that, or maybe like, for example, right, like there's this one artist I worked with, and he had this song about like rage and like how important it is sometimes to channel it whenever you
wow.
need to kind of like get something done, or maybe cause sometimes you could be timid, right? Sometimes you need to tap into rage in order to kind of like say enough's enough, and I'm ready to kind of like make a change, right?
You know, the artist that does that for me is Scarlord.
Scarlord, yeah.
Yeah. I
There's
love listening to Scarlord.
there's also a guy named Unsighted. He's kind of also
Yeah.
on that, But yeah, like that was the song. So that's the problem he's solving, right?
Mhm.
Tapping into rage, and or you can. So then we figured, okay, well, what other industries kind of do that? And then we found that there's this the rec rooms, like those rooms where they kind of
Yeah.
break things.
Yeah, I
right?
see that on TikTok a lot.
Yeah, so we figured it's like, hey, why don't we just we partner up with them and be like, hey, listen, right? Like our song is about
That's
tapping it.
sick.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing. It's like you can
That's
actually
dope.
provide value
Mhm.
and tie it with the song in that sense, right? And
attach it to a product and
attach
attach it
that
to a
actually
problem.
solves the issue, right?
Exactly.
And then now the music and the visuals and all these different things are all
Yeah.
connected together to sell this product. And
Right.
like guess what? You can make money as an artist now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
You don't need no label,
exactly.
and you can sell products.
That's
and
amazing.
you're basically going through the brand ambassador route.
Facts, yeah, because music is a language, and it's a universal language, and it moves people.
It's the most influential tool,
It
right?
really is, and there's tons of people that deal with many issues: mental illness, depression, anxiety, sickness, financial problems, like you said, rage. And I never really looked at music that way. I think artists will find this information very
Another cool
valuable.
aspect of this
Yeah.
too, right, is that now I can target ads.
Yeah.
Now it's like I could just go to the industry that solve the same issues as me, right?
Exactly.
I'm like, cool. So now, like, what products like kind of deal with the same solution as me, or
Right.
same problem,
Mhm.
and then just, all right, well, let me just run my ads on that that industry and that industry and that industry on YouTube. People that watch these kinds of videos, you know what I mean, that
Mhm.
talk about this particular issue,
Right.
right? Well, there you go. And then because at the end of the day, right, let's just say you're the artist that sounds like Kanye West, right? Well,
Yeah.
what is that? What does that mean? Like, they're, a Kanye West fan could be a plumber, it could be a doctor. How do you
Yeah,
how do you
sure.
target that, right? It's not a problem. It's just like
Yeah.
it's a person. But then when you have like an actual solution, now it's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so but that's what every business does, right? So I figured, why not music?
Yeah, for
You know?
sure. And earlier, before we were on air, I heard you talking about like brand archetypes.
Yeah.
So, what are brand archetypes for people that don't necessarily know, and why do artists need them in
Okay, cool.
2023?
So basically, the thing about so brand archetypes, so archetypes in general, right? I don't know if you know a guy named Carl Jung, the psychologist.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he kind
I
of
studied him in university. Yeah.
So remember how he said like kind of like there's our subconscious, we have this collective unconscious
Yes,
of
I know about this.
yeah, and basically it's like whenever we have certain needs we want to fulfill or develop, right? We tap into those archetypes and we kind of subconsciously know how to do them. So for example, whenever I need to defend myself, right? I tap into the hero archetype.
Okay.
And it's or let's just say I'm trying to develop that skill,
Yeah.
right? I look for somebody who looks like they can fight, like the warrior archetype, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
let's just say for even like I'm trying to find love, right? Tap into the lover archetype, or I kind of suck at finding, so I look for somebody who's good at that, and I'm like, okay, I want to learn from you, right? Now again, so it's like so once we tap into these archetypes, right, we kind of know what to do. But so for artists, right, remember how I said like we're solving problems,
Right.
with music. Like let's just say the problem is focused on, I guess maybe love or whatever, right? Like a love related problem, right? If I see them kind of like embodying like a lover archetype and they're using like lover archetype instruments, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Story, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I'm more likely
storytelling.
going to like it's more
Yeah.
likely to catch my attention
Yeah.
attention instantaneously, right? For instance, I'm wearing this jacket, right?
Yeah, tell
And
us
it's-
about that.
And the whole thing is about kind of like I'm like my whole thing is creative. I'm a creative. People are gonna see the whole paint on the thing, and just by scrolling, they'll be like, the creatives
Yeah.
that this will appeal to, they'll notice the paint on the jacket and they'll stop, right, instantaneously, and they'll know that this is for me,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm embodying the creative archetype, right?
Can you explain this like how is this designed and created? Like what
Oh,
what is
this?
the story behind this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing is like I know I said like my brand is about giving like artists like a bunch of resources, but like the whole goal of it is making things that last. Like I think that's the
Yeah.
making things that last forever. And I really am like a creative at heart, right? And it's, I guess, like the whole painting on the jacket is
Okay.
like the creative at work, you know what
Oh,
I mean?
I
And
see what you mean. Yeah, that's
and
cool. And
yeah,
it looks like
like,
a lab coat
it-
that had that
I guess
you
it
guys,
is almost like a lab coat. Like I wanted it to be originally like a
Yeah.
a smock,
It's like a blazer
like
lab.
like a smock, like a painter smock.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be that, but we
Oh,
we couldn't
okay.
find that.
That's
but
very
like,
that's very creative.
yeah, and like I kind of just figured that I want this to be like the uniform, so like the people that like
Oh,
that
I
work at
see. And
Fallingbrook.
I see the messaging and the symbolism behind it. That's
Like when
sick.
everybody's kind of like in the room with us, we're tapping into that creative archetype collectively, and
Yeah, I love that. So you kind of explained like what your main goal is, but like just you want to go into more detail about what is your overall goal with being involved in branding, marketing, and production? Like what do you want to accomplish? What is the biggest thing you want to see happen with your involvement in it?
yeah, like sort of being like the biggest resource hub
Yeah.
for in Toronto, or maybe America. I
Wow,
don't think I'll be in
that's,
America, but like
Not
least
why
Toronto.
not? You don't think you'd be in America? Why?
America's like, I don't think I'll be the biggest in America, just
Yeah.
because.
Don't say I don't think though, because you never know what you put out into the universe could come
Yeah,
true.
like I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean. But like, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's true. That's
Okay,
true, that's
in
true, that's
Canada
true.
at first.
Canada for sure.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's like 10 people here.
Are you trying to like expand internationally
think
too, like to
yeah.
Europe and stuff too?
I think Europe before.
What about
America.
Africa and the Middle East?
Probably the UK.
The UK?
Yeah, because the UK is
The UK has some really great artists.
like my stop would be Toronto and then the UK. Sorry, not Canada and then the UK and then
Yeah,
America
yeah.
after.
Have you traveled?
Yeah, I used to live in the UK.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, how was that experience?
It was a couple. Yeah, I did it I used to do law school for a bit, and then that was like, so I did it there for 3 years. Yeah, and then I finished.
How
it.
long ago was that?
That was my degree was from 2017 to 2021.
So you were born in
was born
Canada.
here, yeah.
You were born here?
Yeah.
So you went there for school. What
Mhm.
is like what is the music culture there? Did you have interest in music when you were there during
100%.
Yeah.
I think to be fair, they're the ones that kind of got so they're the ones that kind
Wow.
of got me here. So like, I went and I had a roommate that was like an artist or like
Yeah.
a rapper, right?
Okay.
And then like at first I was like, yeah, good luck,
I like
buddy.
UK rap.
I did, to be fair.
A
Like
lot.
that's my favorite. I remember I saw it at first. I was like, good luck, buddy. But then like I remember I saw him actually making gains, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, so it's possible, right?
Well,
And he was
yeah.
making significant gains, and I was like, shit, so it is possible. And then I was just around these people over and over again. And I'm like, okay. And then because I felt like I was kind of compromising myself, right? At first,
What do you
right?
mean?
Like when I got into law school, I kind of just didn't give myself that chance, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
then and after that I finished, I was like, cool. So if I'm smart enough to do that, right?
Yeah, that is pretty
I
impressive
could
to
kinda
do.
go
Law
and
is hard.
I could kind of go and do this,
Yeah.
right? And especially if I'm gonna like, this is something I'd want to be the best at as well, right? So yeah, like, and then
Can you what's the music infrastructure in the UK for artists?
it's a lot easier. To be fair, it's like I wouldn't say it's a lot easier, but like,
Is it more supportive?
yeah, I wouldn't say support. Yeah, kind of. It's closer net. Like it's like you're more likely to bump into people. Like I noticed that my homie, right?
Yeah.
He ended up. He wasn't crazy, like very, wasn't crazy big, but he managed to get with Section Boys. Like, you know what I mean? I was
Okay.
like, didn't take that. You didn't have to climb that high to get there, and someone knows somebody, and it's really easy to bump into somebody that knows somebody.
Like London. Were you in London's city?
No, I was in Leicester, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I was in the city like quite a little bit, like an hour away from London.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Did
like,
you go to any shows when you were there?
yeah, I saw Drake a couple times. I saw
Nice,
Dave. I saw yeah. But
Dave is a very good artist, and he plays the piano, doesn't he? He's good at that.
he
He's
can
really
produce
good.
all this stuff.
And his character on Top Boy, you wouldn't even really think he's like, it's just so opposite. But that actually ties me into my next question I was going to ask you. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing Canadian artists, especially in the GTA? Because our city is different, and someone in their music journey, it's just very our music scene is just a lot different than New York, Miami, Los Angeles, UK. So what do you think like our biggest challenges here, and like how do you plan to try to be a part of that solution?
Creating value. Like there's
Creating
just
value.
way more people making music. Like
It's saturated.
well,
in
think
the
about no,
city?
it's not even that. It's like the cost of entry is not that. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. Like there's so many good artists, right? And it's not that hard now to kind of get the studio and kind of get the recording in that sense.
Yeah.
And now like the music's kind of being done by the computers now in that sense, right? So how do we kind of
That's
go
true.
and create value, right? At the end of it, so it's like it's finding ways that like we can still touch people and still stand out despite
Yeah, so
this huge saturation of things.
I'd agree
you know
with
what I mean?
that, as that's definitely a challenge. Do you think that Toronto's venues are strong enough for our music community, or do you think that Toronto should be building more venues, mainly for live shows?
I think the best thing about Toronto is that we have. I remember I was reading something about this, but like the venue market is actually pretty good for art. Like there's not that many artists that perform here. We don't get that many shows compared to U.S.
Yeah.
U.S. states,
Yeah.
or like
Nashville is great for shows. LA, Atlanta's amazing. But I think Toronto's on its way because we're a very unique city. Like
but
I
yeah,
really,
like but
we're
like
unique.
what I'm trying to say is that like because we don't have that many shows being played by
Yeah.
major artists in Toronto,
Yeah.
that gives us an opening for like the local scene in that sense, right? You're not competing with the major artists as much,
Do you
right?
think is that because like American artists are just not like doing many tours and stopping in Toronto, or do you think the pandemic has something to do with that?
Maybe the pandemic had
Yeah.
I think, but I just know that there's like this. I was reading up on this. I don't know how accurate this is, but it just said, I remember reading that saying that like performance like is pretty good for Toronto artists at the moment.
Yeah.
Like to be fair, like
I
a lot,
love performing.
yeah, like I remember like to be like I've seen a lot of local artists and they're not doing that bad in terms of selling their tickets.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I love going to shows.
Lately.
I'm going to Vel this year, and I'm gonna see. I think you say his name H.
Oh, H, the rapper.
The UK rapper is
Yeah,
gonna be
H,
there,
H,
so that'll
yeah.
be pretty cool. I really enjoyed our conversation. So what I'm gonna do now is get you to just plug in all of your social media handles so that the viewers can find you, and just let them know what they can expect from you next, music wise, videography wise, anything like that.
So Fallingbrook Music is the Instagram.
I will add that all in the post edit.
My videographer is Rated Community. My right hand in terms of music producer brother, like it's Lamar's Prod Livin. 'cause Instagram is a bit like it's a lot of numbers and letters.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
We'll
it's
add it in
lammy.
the description.
Yeah,
so.
we'll put it in
Yeah,
slammy. There's numbers there, but there's that. But what was the other part of the question?
Just let us know what we can expect from you.
Yeah, what I
Coming
want
up.
to do is I'm trying to have an album, but like it's almost like again we write songs with a purpose, we produce them at a purpose, and we try to tap into different archetypes. So this one was the jester or the rebel, right? Archetype. It's supposed to
Amazing.
be funny and humorous, but I'm gonna use other archetypes and
All right, sweet. Yeah. So we'll put your links in our outro. So thanks so much for coming. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I learned a lot. And yeah, hopefully the viewers can tune into your next project. And yeah, thanks for coming. So that's a wrap, everyone.
Yep.
Peace.
The clouds.